Christian parenting.
Support for Paradox comes from the Timothy Center, your online counseling center, no matter where you live. The Timothy Center is a faith-based counseling center in Austin, Texas, offering online teletherapy for those that live in Texas but outside the Austin area. If you have questions and would like to consult with Jimmy, Josh, or one of their licensed professionals, visit them at timothycenter.com. Recording live from Austin, Texas, powered by the Christian Parenting Podcast Network, a conversation about marriage and family that women will love and guys won't want to turn off. Doctors Jimmy Myers and Josh Myers are a paradox.
Guys, welcome to the show. This is Paradox, and I am Josh.
I'm Jimmy.
And we are so excited to have Kristen Jenson on the phone today. She is the founder of Protect Young Minds and a best-selling author of Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Porn Proofing Today's Young Kids, as well as Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Jr., a simple plan to protect young minds. She also serves on the Prevention Task Force of the National Coalition of Sexual Exploitation. Kristen, thank you so much for being on.
It's great to be here with you.
Kristen, this is, I'm sure so many people that are listening to our program are familiar with your books, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. They may not be as familiar with the organization Protect Young Minds. What was the catalyst that sort of led you into, we were talking beforehand how we've got sexual addiction recovery at our counseling center. It is such a, we say a hot topic, but it's a hot topic no one wants to talk about. You just hit it head on, and you attacked the root cause, which is, for so many, early exposure to pornography in children. What led you? What was the impetus of even going this direction with your career?
Yeah, I ask myself that a lot. I can tell you that when I was in high school, I was not planning for this kind of a career or this kind of a direction. But several years ago, I got a phone call from a woman that I had met at church, and she told me this really sad story about she had a large family. She was homeschooling them because she wanted to protect them from sexual abuse because she had suffered that as a young child. So she was trying to do everything, but her oldest son, they found out, he was 17 at the time, that he had been sexually molesting several of his younger brothers and sisters, all the way from the 4-year-old to the 14-year-old, and boys and girls. And found out that, pornography was involved. And so she's telling me this sad story. I mean, it was just so tragic. I woke up the next morning and I just had this thought just kept coming, to my head, like, who will warn the young children? Because I could tell that children were getting exposed at younger and younger ages, and nobody was talking to them or warning them and giving them, telling them what to do if they saw it. And so I just got this crazy idea well, first of all, I went looking for a resource for this poor mother. And I got online and I was looking. I thought, there'll be a couple of books about this that you can read to kids, and just like with, body safety books. And I didn't find anything. And this was back in 2011, and didn't find anything. So, like I said, I got this crazy idea that I could write a book for children. And I do have a degree in literature, English literature. I don't know if that really
you never thought you'd
qualifies
use it.
One. Everyone says an English degree isn't worth anything, but I beg to differ.
Yes.
Anyway, so started writing Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Porn Proofing Today's Young Kids. I thought it would take a couple weeks in the summer, but guess what? It took 3 years to write it because I tested it so well, got lots of input from psychologists and therapists and parents. And so I rewrote it, and then finally was able to publish it. And it's been a #1 book on Amazon
Mm-hmm.
for all these years. And then I got asked to write the junior version by parents. Several parents asked me to write that book. And so that came out in 2017. So that's kind of the story behind why I would write a book about pornography for children, because turns out they really, really need to know.
Yeah.
Yep.
And younger than you would think.
Yep.
So in all your research, I know a lot of parents are curious, what is the right age to start talking about pornography with our children? And secondarily, I know a lot of parents are fearful that won't that just increase their curiosity, and won't they want to go and search for it more?
Yeah, great question. This is the thing. You need to give, there's not one particular age. It's as soon as your child has any access to the internet.
Yes, I love this.
So if they're on an iPad or on your phone, or have any access to playing with children that have access to the internet. When our toddlers get to be walking, we warn them and we train them not, to stay on the sidewalk and not to run out into the street. So when kids are getting ready and getting out onto the super highways of the internet, we definitely need to give them a simple warning, and because none of us do very well when we're caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, if you've got a 3-year-old and they're on an iPad, you need to give them a simple warning. And then the other question you asked about, won't this make them more curious? I know a lot of moms ask this question because moms are really good at mom guilt. And so if there's any way that we can be held responsible for any problem,
they're also good at wife guilt.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey-o. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, true. But in any case, we not touching that one. So in any case, we have two choices as parents. The one choice is kind of like the cross your fingers plan. And you can hope that your kids will not see anything inappropriate or be affected by it until at least the day after you decide to bring it up to them and start training them.
Exactly.
That's the cross your fingers plan.
Yes.
And just like trying to time the market, it doesn't usually work. So, because that's the thing, is that if you're just crossing your fingers, where is your control? Your control, you have given it over to chance, to circumstance, because you have no idea. These kids get exposed on the school bus. They get exposed at school. They get exposed at church activities. They get exposed at friends' houses. I mean, it's on, and you just can never know. So I recommend the Protect Young Minds proactive plan, which is get ahead of the game so that you're not in a reactive, but you're in a proactive stance, and start to warn them. And the basic 3 things that we ask parents to do is to give kids a definition of pornography or bad pictures, tell them what it is just so they can recognize it. Now, you're not going to give all the dark, scary things about it, but just a simple definition. And the ones we have in our books is something like pornography means pictures, videos, or cartoons of people with little or no clothing on that focus on the private parts of the body we keep covered with a swimsuit. So that's a very basic definition, but we don't need to give kids too much more, because if they're seeing nudity online, I don't think they're looking at the Sistine Chapel, right? They need to report it to you. So they need a definition. They need to understand that it's dangerous. It's harmful to their brain and, to the whole person. And then 3, they need to have a plan. So they know exactly what to do when they are exposed. And so it's a definition, a warning, and a plan. So that that's what we provide in the books. I think when you're proactive, the kids really will do this. And maybe I could just tell one quick story. And I've got lots, but there was a young boy. He's like 9 years old. His mother read him Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. He knew the can-do plan that's in that book. And he went to school. A few days later, one of his classmates showed him pornography on a mobile device. He went home. He knew exactly what to do. He told his mom what had happened. And then he said this. He said, I was scared, but I knew what to do.
Yes.
I was scared, but I knew what to do. And we just unburdened the kid when we give them the tools and give them the permission to come and tell us.
Well, and that's what's the beauty about your books is it's not just, oh my gosh, this is scary, everyone be scared. It's, okay, yeah, it sort of is, but here's exactly what to do. I think that it can alleviate a ton of anxiety for a child who thinks they're going to get in trouble if they see something like this, and for the parents as well. I know with the, what is it now? Something like the average age of first internet porn exposure is between 7 and 10. And when we deal with teenagers, as I've done most of my adult life, you'd always tell parents, your child is who their friends are. So your friend, your child he's not the designated driver. He's not the only one at the party that's not drinking. So sometimes parents have these blinders on that I know that this might occur with other families, but there's no way that my child would ever do this. Do some parents feel almost guilty in bringing this up with their kids, like assuming that they would be doing something wrong?
Well, let me tell you, good kids get into porn.
Yes.
It's not whether they're good or bad. It's whether they're biological human beings.
Yes.
We are all wired to respond to nudity, and we do have a response. And that's for a good purpose. Pornography just twists it and turns it around and makes, we need to get in there and teach our children not only about sex earlier than we are doing, but about the counterfeit, which is, the toxic version of sex, which is pornography, so that they know what to expect. I mean, if your kid is learning about sex from pornography, it's gotten so violent, so toxic, so degraded. They're not going to be looking forward to a happy sex life. But back to, I think what you're saying is that, how do parents, think about, well, not my kid. There is a huge naivete gap. There was a study done in the UK that showed that, when they asked parents, and these were parents and their teens, basically, these parents were underestimating by 100%.
I was actually going to mention that study, and I may have gotten it off your website.
Well, on our website, we have lots of great resources. So, for example, go to protectyoungminds.org, and you can get the quick start guide. So you come up to speed. There's lots of stats. There's, come up to speed about the whole issue of pornography and how to talk to your kids about it. And then if you want to get even more prepared, download the Smart Plan guide, because that will prepare you for how to deal with, that first time that you either find out or your child comes and tells you that they've seen pornography. And SMART is another acronym that stands for, stay calm, make a plan. When you first realize that your child has been seeking out porn or someone has exposed them to porn, the normal reaction is to freak out.
Correct.
But we teach you how to go through a series of steps so that you deal with your own emotions first, and then you confront your child or work with your child. They'll shut down, as you know, right? If you just freak out. And so you need to get yourself in a calm place, and we help you do that with this Smart Plan guide.
Parents feel the pressure to parent well, but life, especially right now, with the COVID and the germs and the homeschool, well, it's just really hard. That's why we're so excited to announce that they wouldn't let Josh because, face it, he's just not good enough, but I will be speaking at the online Perfectly Imperfect Christian Parenting event that's going to be coming your way October 23rd and 24th.
This completely digital event was designed for parents like us as a time to set aside perfection and receive the practical and spiritual help we need. in an easy and accessible digital format, and we're so excited to, or at least Jimmy is, excited to be speaking at this event.
I am.
The goal is to help you check perfection at the door and become the perfectly imperfect parent God has called you to be.
Okay, so what I'm going to be speaking about specifically, the title is The Forbidden Pandemic, and how it's time we begin talking about the rampant addiction to high-speed internet pornography. Now then, before you go, that's gross, and you wouldn't catch me within 10 miles of that topic. I beg you to listen. You might say to yourself, well, gosh, porn's been around forever. This has not. There are addiction experts that feel that because of high-speed internet pornography, there may not have ever been anything so addictive that we've ever dealt with as a society. And because shame is the driver of sex addiction and porn addiction, it is especially rampant within the church. Please listen. You may be a little uncomfortable, but it's information that we have to begin talking about.
In addition to Jimmy's talk, there will be over 40 other short, consumable talks giving you both practical and spiritual advice from some other amazing speakers such as Aaron and Jamie Ivey, Mark Batterson, Jonathan Pitts, the Duck Dynasty Gang, and many, many more.
So register today for this digital Christian parenting event at Paradox, that's Paradocs, paradox.perfectlyimperfect.org at checkout. You'll also find a link to the event in our show notes. Again, register today at paradox.perfectlyimperfect.org. We look forward to seeing you there.
I think a lot of parents are like, all right, we get it. Let's put filters on our family computers, and now we're done. But that doesn't necessarily offer all the protection. How are kids getting exposed if it's not, on our family computers?
So kids are getting exposed through social media. If your kids have any access to social media, Instagram, any of them, TikTok, obviously, there's just so many ways they get any kind of social media, many of these apps, games, video games.
Mm-hmm.
So and then they're friends and they share this. And like I said, lots of kids, I've heard back from lots of parents that start, reading Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and there's a certain percentage that say they already had seen it. So for example, one mom had her kids, her two daughters, young daughters, like maybe 7 and 9. They were over playing at a friend's house when she drove up. The friend was showing them something on a phone in the front yard. So when the kids got in, she goes, "What was she showing you on her phone?" And they looked at each other and they kind of said, "Oh, it was a My Little Pony video." But months later, when she read Good Pictures, Bad Pictures to them, they opened up and they said, "Mom, that wasn't a My Little Pony video. She was showing us pornography." And this mother said she would have never known. And that would have just been a burden for them, and it may have enticed them,
Sure.
Their curiosity. So important that we give kids information early enough so that they can develop an internal filter. And I'll just say this one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
All the filters in the world, even if you have a perfectly efficacious filter, which actually doesn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
that is not going to change the heart and soul and mind of your child.
Mm-hmm.
You have to persuade them to reject pornography from their heart, from their mind, right? And no filter is going to do that for you. What you need to do is build an internal filter that goes with them everywhere they go and that helps them know how and why they should reject pornography.
So besides the internal filter, I'm assuming another solution is just a compound somewhere. Is there a Protect Young Minds compound we can all just go to
lock them up
and just lock up our kids?
And then when they reach college age, we can let them out.
I think it's in Costa Rica, actually.
Okay,
That's where it is. No, I think in this world, there's so many sexual cues coming in to our kids at all times. And maybe as adults, we've kind of blocked them out because we're just so used to it. But these kids get affected. I mean, I've talked to guys who, when they were 6 years old, were ripping out pictures from the underwear catalog that was coming to, their address, and hiding them under his Thomas the Train set.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He was already kind of interested in this sexualized pictures of women.
Right. Well, and there was an editorial written in the Dallas Morning News last fall by a mom, and the title of the opinion piece was "When a sixth grader can access rape porn at school, then school itself becomes toxic." And it was a mom who was about her daughter, and that's what, some boys came up to her, showed her the most violent, the most, horribly degrading pornography. And this little sixth grade girl was innocent as the driven snow, but that happens completely outside the control of the parents and whatever filters they may have, or, so we've got to your point, it can't be simply protecting them. It's also preparing them, because the question now...
that is a protection.
Yes. Yes, it's more than simply protection. It's also preparing them, and because the issue now is not if they're going to be exposed, but when. And to your point, we can't just count on happenstance. We've got to be proactive.
Exactly. And really, there's such a feeling of relief when you start these conversations, and then you layer them as they get older, adding more and more, teaching them as they get older that one of the problems with pornography is that it is tied to sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to be, voting for sex trafficking, right? And as they get older, you can talk about how, these pornography industry is really just trying to get them hooked and addicted so they'll be paying customers.
Mm-hmm.
And, trying to, with teenagers, they love to rebel. So get them rebelling against pornography. So again, but starting younger is so much, sooner is safer. Hashtag, right? Sooner is safer when we start to build in these. It's really like a disposition, right? A mindset that they understand that pornography is not going to lead to a happy, healthy life. It's actually going to steal their peace of mind and maybe enslave them in addiction and add to the problem of sexual exploitation everywhere. So I think it's very, very doable. And with the tools that we have at protectyoungminds.org, which includes a brand new curriculum called Brain Defense, it's for kids 9 to 12. We are really giving parents the resources they need to begin this journey with their kids.
And that's the thing. I mean, it can be so daunting and so scary, and we just want to hide our heads in the sand, and we don't know what to do, and we're just filled with fear. But I think we want to end on, or at least I do, the story you told several minutes ago about, I think, that 9-year-old that came home was like, "Mom, I knew what to do."
Yes.
Like, there's hope. There's hope. We don't have to be fearful. We can prepare our children to handle this and to have internal filters to where everybody's not doomed for a life of addiction to pornography. Kristen, she is at protectyoungminds.org. You can find more information about her there. You can find her books on Amazon. Kristen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, we knew this was going to be good.
Well, yeah. I mean, this as we said before, sex in general, but certainly pornography, it is the Voldemort of the Christian church and home, that which must not be named. And we don't talk about it. We refuse to talk about it. We play like it's not there. And by it, I just mean sex in general, because not only teach them what to do with bad pictures as opposed to good ones, but it's also teaching them from a young age a biblical concept of what sexuality is, that it's good, that it's not dirty, it's not scary, so that when they are presented with pornography, what they already know about what sexuality is between a husband and a wife who love each other, and then pornography becomes instantly recognizable as something that is not that.
Kristen Jenson at protectyoungminds.org. We'll post in our show notes her Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, we'll post about her brain defense, that preparing its curriculum specifically for kind of 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, training them kind of what to do, how to do it, and how to have that internal filter. Jimbo, anything else?
Not a thing.
We appreciate you guys for listening. You can find this episode as well as anything previous at paradoxpodcast.com. You can also always go to christianparenting.org/paradox. We appreciate you guys for listening.
Thanks.
For more information about the voice of the Paradox Podcast, Julie Lyles Carr, go to julielylescarr.com. And if you want more details about what was discussed on today's show and find the archive of all our past shows, go to paradoxpodcast.com.